So, some really important news came out today about the Deutsche Bank, and that news really affects me personally. And I want to let everybody know about it, because I think enough is enough. So my name is Leopold Richard Bamberger Alavizas, and I'm reporting to you this evening from the beach in Guerrero, Mexico. And what I'm reporting to you about is about my ancestor, Ludwig Bamberger, and Samuel Oppenheimer. Unfortunately, I didn't know they were my relatives until a couple of years ago. And I'm sure if I had known, I would have been appalled, because I'm not really in favor of Israel, and I'm not really in favor of economic slavery and hegemony over the vast majority of the population of the earth. Samuel Oppenheimer, obviously anybody who knows anything about finances knows the Oppenheimer funds. He was my ancestor. And he really wanted Israel to be formed, and he funded it. And so did Ludwig Bamberger. Ludwig Bamberger was one of the founders of the Deutsche Bank in Germany. My ancestor, Ludwig Bamberger, founder of the Deutsche Bank. Wow. Nobody told me. My mom's family, the Bambergers and the Blocks, you see, they never talked to us ever because they didn't like us, because my dad was Greek and I'm half Greek. And so my mom and all of us were discriminated against when we were growing up. Nobody ever talked to us. And I've never met even once, not even once in person have I met a single cousin of mine on my mom's side, or anybody from my mom's family for that matter, except for my evil aunt, Joan Goodhart. What an oxymoron, because she has no goodness in her heart at all. She's an evil Cruella de Vil. But getting back to this Deutsche Bank business, wow. The Deutsche Bank today was raided by 190 police investigators. Its main branches were all toppled down, and the police took control of millions of pages, and if not, just took control of everything, millions of pages of documents. Because why? Because of a thing called the Panama Papers. What are the Panama Papers? Whoa. Guess we got to go talk about Donald Trump and his Russian buddies, the Russian mobsters, who laundered all that money through the Deutsche Bank and funneled it through condominiums in Panama, where all these condominiums were supposedly bought and paid for, but nobody ever occupied those condominiums, and then they were suddenly resold. So somebody's laundering a lot of money there, and that someone's called Donald Trump. And the Russian mobsters were paying him a lot of money through the Deutsche Bank, through the British Virgin Islands, and through Panama. Now, this is pretty disturbing and actually very appalling to me, because if the Deutsche Bank was started by my ancestor, Ludwig Bamberger, and we've got guys like Donald Trump trying to bilk it and screw it over and scam it and money launder through it and get fraudulent loans through it maybe, or whatever it is that he's done, this is absolutely unconscionable and unacceptable to me as the descendant of Ludwig Bamberger. And in conjunction with that, Donald Trump and his Russian mafia buddies have also, well, it's all pretty well known in the news that he infiltrated other banks like the Bank of New York in the 90s and had people like Lucy Edwards and Peter Berlin launder money through their personal accounts for him. Weren't they his friends? Come on now. And the Russian mobsters that they worked for? Come on now. So Donald Trump and his Russian buddies screwed over the Deutsche Bank, and they used the Bank of New York too, where my family has money. And during the same time that the Bank of New York made a lot of money for Donald Trump and his Russian mafia buddies and laundered shitloads of money for them, the Bank of New York didn't do anything for my family, but it was supposed to. To make matters worse, my cousins in Wisconsin helped elect Donald Trump, and Paul Ryan knows exactly who I am, and he hates me. Thank goodness. Nobody asked me if I thought it was a good idea if Donald Trump should be president. That's my message to my family in Wisconsin. Because if you'd asked me, I would have told you no. Don't elect a racist, sexist, bigoted, prejudiced a-hole who doesn't care about anybody but himself. A true narcissist and sociopath. That's who you guys voted for in Wisconsin. Against my will and without my permission, as far as I can see. Now, you're going to repent in Wisconsin and everywhere else for having voted for Donald Trump, because Donald Trump committed treason against our country. Which brings me to the next point. Anybody who thinks that I've got a problem because I think Donald Trump should be put before a firing squad, they're wrong. I'm adhering to the law. In fact, if anybody thinks I have a problem because I say Donald Trump should die or Prince Mohammed bin Salman should die, wrong. I don't have a problem. I'm actually following the law. Because the law of Saudi Arabia says if you commit murder or you conspire to commit murder, the penalty is death in Saudi Arabia. And that means Prince Mohammed bin Salman, by his own law, must be put to death. Sorry. And just think about this. Mr. Manafort there, the guy who pleaded guilty to conspiring to commit treason against the people of the United States and the state. Yeah, he's guilty. He already admitted he's guilty of committing treason against the people of the United States. Of committing treason against the state. Now, I don't think Paul Manafort acted alone, right? He had some co-conspirators. Let's see, what were their names? Oh yeah, Donald Trump. Co-conspirator of Paul Manafort's for treason against the state. Wow. That means you go to jail at least. We'll be seeing you go to jail, Donald Trump, at the very least. And if not, I sure do hope you die before you get to jail. And if somebody in the government was really patriotic, they'd be taking out their service revolver right now and do us all a big favor. And do the ultimate in patriotic acts and solve us all a problem. You get my drift? At any rate, treason against the state, you go to prison at the least. And at the most, you go before a firing squad. Capiche? Now, if I were Donald Trump, I'd get out of office. And if I were Prince Mohammed bin Salman, I'd be on a plane to Rio de Janeiro and be sitting right next to Elvis or somebody or Jim Morrison. And I'd be pretending like I was dead so that nobody would want to look for me. This is Leopold Richard Bamberger Alavizos finishing up a report about the Deutsche Bank and the money laundering at the Deutsche Bank that Donald Trump committed with his Russian buddies, and about how he and people like him should go the way of the buffalo.